Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome once again to Booking a Better Wrestler, the show where we take a wrestler from WWE's roster and see if we can do a better job with them. My name is Paul Laporte, and this week I'll be taking a look at the man that gravity forgot, Neville. Since his debut on the main roster, Neville has lost his first name and had a hard time breaking through the lower mid-card. It looked like he was possibly on track to win the IC title when he suffered a freak injury, and he's been out ever since. Now, I've had requests to take a look at Neville for some time now, and I did include him in the last week's episode when I booked a new version of the Bullet Club called The West End, but I thought I would take a little bit of time today to give Neville a look on his own. This episode is going to be a little different from other wrestlers I've covered in the past. Neville at this point in his WWE career is such a blank slate that I feel there's a number of ways we can go with him, any of which would be successful. So instead of just making one booking suggestion for Neville, I'm going to make several. Here we go. Option 1. Neville's return should line up right around Money in the Bank. If he's healthy enough, you can put him in that match, and if you do, he would be an excellent candidate to win the briefcase. Neville isn't closely aligned with anyone, and we've seen in the past during his run as NXT champ that he's not afraid to be resourceful and a little bit shifty to get the job done. Neville as your Money in the Bank holder could provide an interesting story about a man who is young, has insane amounts of talent, and isn't afraid to cash the briefcase in on anybody if the time is right. And yes, if he cashes it in, I fully believe that he should win. Many people will say it's too soon to put the belt on Neville, or that he's too small, but I don't believe either of those things. There are a handful of people on the planet Earth that can do what Neville does, and the story can be easily told that he can beat bigger wrestlers by being faster and more athletic than they are. Neville could be put into matches with the likes of AJ Styles, Seth Rollins, Dean Ambrose, Roman Reigns, and even Triple H, and have exciting matches with any of them. I've never been one to subscribe to the theory that a guy isn't ready for a belt just because he hasn't been there for 5 years or more. If you look at any other combat sport, which is something WWE tries to emulate, you have guys who just rocket to the top or pull off shock victories all the time. You can do the same thing with Neville, and as long as you make him look good and let him do all the insane things he's known for, people will accept him as champ. Option 2. Neville returns as a full-blown heel with a vicious attack on Kalisto, leading to a bitter feud between the two. Neville claims that being the nice guy wasn't getting the job done, and he's sick of waiting around for his turn, and he's simply going to take it. We haven't seen Neville as a total bad guy yet, and I'd be interested to see how he handles the job. I think he could do well with it, and personally, I just want to see these two have a long program together no matter what it takes. Imagine the matches these two would have. Kalisto and Neville could battle it out for months. I would love to see this feud have some real grit to it and let these two really hate each other. I could see these two having a rivalry similar to Shawn Michaels and Razor Ramon, and if you let the two of them do what everyone knows they're capable of, you can bring all the prestige that the US title has lost back in an instant. And finally, option 3. Have Neville return to NXT and battle it out with Samoa Joe for the NXT title. Right now, NXT's roster is a little depleted after all the call-ups, and they could benefit with a veteran like Neville heading down for a while. In addition to taking on Samoa Joe, he could also have dream matches against the likes of Austin Aries and Shinsuke Nakamura. Some people may see this as a demotion, but there are times when a wrestler is just better suited elsewhere, and if WWE isn't confident with letting him be a player in the mid-card or main event scenes, then they should put him somewhere he can at least get some TV time. He's way too talented to be sitting in the back, not being used, or to be put in meaningless opening matches. Perhaps Neville becomes the first two-time NXT champion and then uses that momentum to slingshot himself to a more prominent position on the main roster where he can make more of an impact. Now, those are only a few suggestions, and I know this is going to be a shorter episode than usual, but Neville's short time in WWE, coupled with his injury, makes it difficult to pinpoint an exact storyline for him. Another option is to put him in the Global Cruiserweight Series, but personally, I wouldn't go that route. I think the GCS should be reserved for up-and-coming guys, and Neville is past that point in his career. If the GCS turns into some sort of official cruiserweight title, then Neville would be an obvious pick as someone to help lead that division, but I would keep him out of the tournament. All right, ladies and gentlemen, again, that's going to wrap it up for this episode of Booking a Better Wrestler. Again, sorry it was a shorter episode than usual, but, this is now 4 things I've suggested for Neville, with him being a part of the West End stable last week, and then 3 things this week. He is somebody who I've always enjoyed watching. I loved him in NXT. I was very excited when he moved up to the main roster, but like many others, I am kind of disappointed with what they've done with him so far. But I don't think that there's really all that much in terms of storyline and creativity that you need to do to get him back to prominence. He's just such an insanely athletic and talented person that if you just let him showcase himself, he's going to get over with the fans in a big way. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Please be sure to check out all of our other shows. On Mondays, we have Time Warp. On Tuesdays and Thursdays, we have Changing the Questions. On Wednesdays, we have this show, Booking a Better Wrestler. And on Fridays, we have Let's Play TEW. Also, be sure to head on over to our website, changingtheqs.com. That's www.changingtheqs.com, where you can get all of our podcasts and articles and recaps throughout the week. We're having a lot of new viewers coming in to the website. If you're listening to these as well, we thank you for joining us, and we hope you stick around. If you want to follow us on Twitter, you can do so with the same handle, @ChangingTheQs. That's @ChangingTheQS. Also be sure to like us on Facebook. Just search for Changing the Questions there. And if you want to send us a good old-fashioned email, you can do that at changingthequestions@gmail.com. That's going to wrap it up. My name is Paul Laporte. Again, thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you again soon. Goodbye.